Welcome to the High Income Business Writing Podcast, helping you propel your writing business to a whole new level. And now, here's your host, Ed Gandia.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of the High Income Business Writing Podcast, the number one podcast for business writers and copywriters who want to earn more in less time doing work they love for better clients, with over 1 million downloads from listeners just like you across 101 countries. This episode is much shorter than usual. Rather than my typical 45-minute format, today I'm sharing a quick tip with you. This is part of the audio insights I publish for my private coaching clients every weekday, and I thought you'd find it helpful. So here we go. I hope you enjoy it. Here's something I find interesting about how we tend to use AI tools in our writing workflows. We often forget that our interactions with these tools are meant to be conversational. Instead of having a natural back and forth, I find that many of us try to cram everything we possibly can into one massive prompt. In other words, we dump thousands of words of context and information, requirements, constraints, files, and examples all at once, thinking that it will somehow produce the best results if we approach it that way. And to be fair, there are many supposed AI experts out there that are promoting that approach. They take great pride in crafting these massive prompts and sharing them with their newsletter subscribers. Very often, these prompts are so big and complex, I don't think many people stop to think through the logic of the prompt. They really don't even read it in many cases. And instead, they just copy and paste the prompt blindly into a chat window. But that's not good, because now you're just outsourcing all your thinking to AI, to a tool. There's a deeper problem with that big prompt approach as well. And that's the fact that it's just not organic in any way. So think about it, how you would handle a complex situation with a trusted colleague or a friend or a mentor. Would you walk into their office and unleash a 20-minute monologue about every single detail of your challenge, not even letting them get a word in? Of course not. That's ridiculous. You'd start with a core issue. You'd explain the key facts and why you're struggling, and it would go back and forth. You'd let them respond somewhere in there, maybe a few times. And based on the questions you ask, the insights you get, the conversation and how it unfolds, you would share more and more relevant details. So in other words, you'd have a dialogue, like a real conversation, right? And this is exactly how we should be approaching our interactions with AI. So when you're having a productive conversation with a friend about a challenge you're facing, it's a dance of sharing and listening. You provide some context. They ask follow-up questions, maybe offer some insights, and then you build on that. The conversation flows naturally, with each person contributing to a deeper understanding of the situation as the whole thing unfolds. The same principle applies when working with AI. So instead of trying to anticipate every possible question or scenario up front, I suggest that you start with essential information only. I recommend using my 3R prompting format as a start. The 3R is basically where you define three things: the role you want the AI to take, reference information it should use, and the requirements, what you want in terms of the output. And the idea here is to focus on the essentials only under each of those three items, and then let the AI respond. And based on what it gives you, you can then provide more context, or you can clarify your needs. For example, rather than piling dozens of documents and requirements inside that chat window and asking for a first draft of the piece that you need to write, start by asking the AI to connect some dots for you. So you might go ahead and upload the documents, give it some context, and then ask, what key themes do you see emerging in these documents? Or maybe you ask for the gaps. What gaps are you seeing in the information? What assumptions underlie much of what you see here? Each of those could be an individual question, and then you let the AI give back some information based on what it's seeing, and then you can proceed from there. And you can, after you get the output you're looking for and you think through it, you can now take it to the next step, which might be all about narrowing down a thesis or a topic to work with. That may involve some pushback from you based on the back and forth, based on what you get back, or maybe some probing questions based on the output you receive. So in other words, you're having, and you should have, a healthy back and forth conversation. From there, you could get help creating an outline for a very specific reader avatar. And from there, you might ask the AI to help you craft a very compelling lead for the piece, and so on. So notice, we're talking many different steps here before you even get to writing a first draft, if you even use the AI to help you create a first draft. This approach is both way more natural and way more effective. When you overwhelm an AI with a massive wall of text and requirements, you're essentially asking it to juggle dozens of constraints simultaneously. But when you take an iterative approach, you can focus more effectively on each individual step. There's also the fact that you're not doing yourself any favors when you try to do it all in one step. Your own cognitive processing works best when you break down complex problems into smaller chunks and work through them conversationally. This is often called chain of thought reasoning, and it's all about how humans tackle, process, and solve problems one step at a time. When you break it down into a conversation, you allow both yourself and the AI to process and to respond to each piece of information meaningfully. One way to think about it is how you would build a house. So you wouldn't just dump all the materials in a pile and expect perfect results, right? Even if you had a crew there working with you, you lay the foundation first. Then you add one component individually, thoughtfully, and deliberately. So your conversation with AI should follow that same principle. Now, this doesn't mean you should be vague or withhold important information. It just means you got to be strategic about how and when you share that information. Start with the core of what you need, then layer in additional context and requirements as that conversation evolves. Don't expect everything to happen at once. Expect to sit there for a while, depending, of course, on the objective, depending on what you're looking to do here. But the beauty of this approach is that it often leads to unexpected insights and solutions. I think that's what many people don't understand before they start taking this approach. Just as a good conversation with a friend might help you see your challenge from a new angle, a well-structured dialogue with AI can uncover possibilities you hadn't even considered. Plus, it's going to keep your thinking and creative problem-solving faculties sharp. I really believe these tools will make us better thinkers if we approach them the right way. I really disagree with all the naysayers that we will lose our creativity, we will lose our cognitive abilities and ability to think. I think those claims are overblown and they assume way too much. Not something I'm going to get into here. That's a totally separate conversation. But I really believe that if you use them right, you can keep your problem-solving faculties, your thinking, your cognitive abilities really sharp. Remember, AI is designed to engage in meaningful exchanges. When we treat it like a conversation partner rather than a command line interface, we tap into its full potential. So next time you're working with it, try to approach it as you would a thoughtful discussion with a colleague or a friend you deeply respect. You might be surprised by how much more effective and insightful the interaction becomes. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And just a quick reminder to grab your free copy of my latest book, Earn More in Less Time: The Proven Mindset, Strategies, and Actions to Prosper as a Freelance Writer. You can get your free copy at b2blauncher.com, where you will also find the detailed show notes to this and all my other episodes. Enjoy and have a great day.